this case, over the weekend, some migrants were sent via train to New York City from Trenton's Transit Center. And joining us now for more is Trenton's Mayor, Reed Gusiora. Mayor, thank you so much for your time. How many buses have arrived in Trenton at this point, and is there anything you can do about it?
Well, on Saturday morning, I was informed that 4 buses between the hours of 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. dropped off 163 asylum seekers, all but 21 boarded trains bound for New York. Then again, last night, 5 additional buses with 215 migrants arrived at Trenton Transit, but all boarded trains bound for New York.
And so did some of those in the first group stay in Trenton?
They claimed that they had family members in Trenton and that they were on their way to those houses. Unfortunately, by the time we got there, no one was at the train station since they were in the middle of the night, so we have no way of verifying that at this point.
I guess it's fair to assume you didn't have any heads up about this.
No, and that's what's making it.
Cover the first now in Denver. In less than 24 hours, 16 buses packed with migrants arrived in Denver. The city of Denver confirms 9 busloads arrived last night, 7 this morning from Texas. Overall, there are about 3,800 migrants right now in shelters in the metro area. This comes as it is expected more than 10,000 migrants crossed the southern border into the United States in each of the last 3 days. Your reporter, Brian Sherrod, is live in Denver right now. Let's go to him. Brian, you met with many of the migrants today who are unsure what to do next.
And Alan, the city of Denver tells me at least 340 migrants have been dropped off here since last night, and many of them don't even know where they are. They're unfamiliar with this area. Now, with them being in the area of Zuni and Spear, many people tell us, including one woman who works there, that it's just making it difficult for her to work in the area right now. This has become ground zero for migrants in Denver. Many struggling.
The crisis at the border is marching on. Nearly 8,000 migrants are making their way to Texas. Now, they are expected to arrive any day now. This as U.S. leaders turn up the heat on Mexico. NBC's Chris Malone explains.
Just hours after top Biden administration officials met with the president of Mexico, another bus arrived in New York City carrying migrants who recently crossed into the U.S. And with a new migrant caravan estimated to be 8,000 people now making its way through Mexico, Democratic mayors in several cities far from the southern border know the buses sent by Republican governors in border states like Texas will keep coming.
We expect the surge to intensify in the coming days and weeks.
Crossings at the southern border are down this week after last week saw record highs, more than 12,000 people coming into the U.S. a day. It has the leaders of border states and mayors of cities where the migrants often end up begging for help.
We cannot do this alone. We need more support from the federal government.
In a meeting with Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Mexico's president pressed the U.S. to spend more money in Central and South America to improve often deadly and dire conditions which are causing thousands to make the dangerous trek to the U.S.
Unless we can stop this flow through Mexico, our resources are overwhelmed, and that is, even after we spend billions on border security.
That's it. The resources are overwhelmed. I'm going to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua as I begin this lesson. I want to give double honors to our leadership, the apostles and elders and bishops of Great Millstone. Peace, mercy, and grace to the household of faith, the elect. Beginning with the 144,000. Hey, Shalom, welcome back to another lesson. This lesson we're going to talk about, let's start with the precept, if I may. I love going into this precept because what's so dope about, knowing the truth is the fact that, history repeats itself. And that's scriptural. Ecclesiastes 1:9, the thing that have been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. So in this lesson, we're going to talk about, how the United States being the modern-day Roman Empire, or the modern-day Rome, rather, or the head of the Roman Empire, how back in ancient, during the, the ancient Roman Empire, prior to, or around the time when the siege of Jerusalem took place, there was also a influx of what they call pilgrims, which you can say is the same thing as migrants too. And there was a depletion of resources before Esau made his move. And so we're seeing this happening, all over again, which also one of the reasons that they say the Roman Empire fell, they say was because there was an influx of immigrants, or what they called back then the barbarians. The barbarians were like the other nations that were I guess you could say what they would call uncivilized, because Rome they kind of sat on a high horse, so they kind of looked at these Germanic tribes as the barbarians. And so, but eventually they started allowing the barbarians into their militaries and allowing them in, and then eventually the barbarians took them down. Okay, so let's read this from Britannica, which is the fall of Jerusalem. And we're going to read this whole thing. This ain't much. We're going to read this whole thing. And we're going to make the point, bring out the precepts, and then wrap it up. In April 70 CE, about the time of the Passover, the Roman general Titus besieged Jerusalem. So this is the Edomite who the Spirit was on him to besiege Jerusalem during the time of the Passover, which was a gathering or a celebration or whatnot of the Jews. It says, since that action coincided with Passover, the Romans allowed pilgrims to enter the city, but refused to let them leave. Let's read that again. All right. The Romans allowed pilgrims or travelers to enter into the city, but refused to let them leave. And that's what's going on right now. They're allowing pilgrims, if you will, to come into the great city, Babylon the Great, but they're not going to be able to leave. Okay. Thus strategically depleting food and water supplies within Jerusalem. And what's happening is the resources, these people are complaining about the lack of resources. And that was the main thing I wanted to get out of those few clips I played, was they were saying, we need more resources, because you have all these people coming in, taking the resources. And that's also going to piss off a lot of the people here. If you pay attention to the Forever Purge, that movie was about a migrant crisis, which caused, that normally they would do a 12-hour day of purging, but this time, they had the people, pretty much the citizens, the U.S. citizens, the patriots, if you will, they rebelled against it. They said, no, we not going to stop purging until we get all of these pretty much blacks and Hispanics off the land. Because they feel like this is our country. We need more time to get them out of here. 12 hours ain't enough. So they pretty much rebelled and became seditious and, did what they wanted to do. So that they're actually showing you that this is where this is all going. It's about to be a purge, That's where, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and keep reading. It says the Romans allowed pilgrims to enter the city, but refused to let them leave, thus strategically depleting food and water supplies within Jerusalem. Within the walls, the zealots, a militant. Let me see if I need to get that. I'm gonna scroll down. It says because it's just talking about Josephus, but this the other last bit. The Romans encircled the city with the wall to cut off supplies to the city completely, and thereby drive the Jews to starvation. Yep. Which that reminds me of the prophecy that Yahushua prophesied about, Luke 21. He pretty much warned at this time, 21:30, 21 and 20, 21 or 20. It says, and when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. All right, we pretty much read that. The Romans encircled the city with a wall to cut off supplies to the city completely, and thereby drive the Jews to starvation. Verse 21, then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter therein too. I'm going to get that in the NLT. Then those in Judea must flee to the hills. Those in Jerusalem must get out, and those out in the country should not return to the city. For those will be the days of God's vengeance, and the prophetic words of the scriptures will be fulfilled. Okay, so, they allowed all these people to come in, and then they made their move. By August 70 CE, the Romans had breached the final defenses and massacred much of the remaining population. They also destroyed the second temple. The western wall, the only extant trace of the second temple, remains a site of prayer and pilgrimage. So right now, they're allowing people to come in, and they're about to get ready to make a move, ultimately to, because America's pretty much just set up to be a sacrifice anyway. It's and that's on the left and the right side. It's just a big hub of. That's why even the elites don't even live here. This place ain't nothing. It's really nothing to them. It's like they main. Tool to, like the scripture says, the hammer of the earth, but, they really don't really give a shit about this place. You know what I'm saying? So let's get Psalms 37. Psalms 37 and 12. It says, the wicked plot against the godly. That ain't what I want. I wanted the KJV. All right, the wicked plotteth against the just and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. Okay, so the wicked are actually making a plot, against us, against, the world, and they're going to gnash upon with their teeth, which, the teeth is metaphoric for their power, their military, their strength, their sword. So they making these plans, bringing all these people in here for what? And that's what you got to ask, like, what they bringing all these people in here for, All these people just coming in New York City public hospitals overwhelmed by an increase of migrants. Like, look at this shit.
We're back now with a record number of migrants crossing into the U.S., pushing resources to the limit in many American cities. Now hospitals are sounding the alarm, saying they're also overwhelmed, including some far from the border. Julia Ainsley has our report.
Tonight, the border crisis surging. Officials telling NBC News there were over 200,000 illegal crossings at the southern border last.
200,000, man. All right. All of this is leading to the sword. Something about to go down. It might be this year. But like I said, this ultimately, Babylon the Great is going to be a big sacrifice, like I mentioned. So we're just going to go ahead and read this and wrap it up. The point being that just like in ancient Rome, there were pilgrims or, migrants. Matter of fact, let's look up. I had this pulled up, measure. 2nd Esdras 9:1 says, measured out of times diligently. When you look at definition 7, it says any standard of comparison, estimation, or judgment. So just looking at this to kind of looking at the things happening to estimate, how close we are to the second coming of the Messiah, which is, that's what it's all about. So let's look up, pilgrims, they call them, and then they have immigrants. Let's look up the difference between the two. If there is one. Pilgrim, a person who journeys, especially a long distance, to some sacred place as an act of religious devotion. 2, a traveler or wanderer, especially in a foreign place. So that's exactly what they are. These are travelers coming from different parts of, portions of America, Central, South America, or some coming from Haiti, some people from China. They're coming from all over the place, all right, to settle in this foreign place. All right, let's look up migrant, which is especially of people, a person who attempts to permanently relocate to a new country, but who may be subject to a removal by government. Compare immigrant. What's an immigrant? Person who migrates. So it's the same thing. Person who migrates from the Latin immigrant, stem of immigrants, moving into. So the etymology pretty much means just moving into. So these are people that's moving. So pilgrims and immigrants are the same. So it's pretty much the same shit we read here. Just to say it again, repetition. You had the Romans allowing pilgrims or immigrants to come into the city, but refused. So the Romans allowed Edomites allowed people to come into a particular place as a strategy before they pretty much moved on that place. So, we hear something's about to happen. Might be this year, next year, but it's coming soon. All right, this is Isaiah 34, and I'm going to get the point, or I'm going to start at 5, and the point is at 6. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my cursed judgment. Idumea was the capital of Esau's land, out there in Edom. But, it's a capital city today. In the spirit, it'll be Babylon the Great. And the sword bathed in heaven is going to be those missiles. All right, verse 6, the sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made with fatness and with the blood of lambs and goats and with the fat of kidneys of rams. For the Lord have a sacrifice in Basra and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. So this is all just parabolic talk for the Lord is going to sacrifice a great number of people in America. Babylon the Great is going to be, a place where a lot of people pretty much given to the fire, and it's one big ass altar. I think Isaiah 19 goes into that too. Isaiah 19, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, I was thinking about this, and that there shall be an altar, which we represent the altars in the midst of Egypt, but America is going to be one big altar, and the people are like, the rams, the goats, and all that stuff. So, all right, we'll see what happens. I pray it was edifying lesson. Just wanted to make that point. Shalom.